This episode of Harvey Brownstone Interviews is brought to you by the Harvey Brownstone Talk Show Blend Coffee, available at hollywoodblends.com. Everyone's saying it's the best coffee they've ever tasted. Why not give it a try and see for yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is a popular and beloved actress, producer, director, educator, and author who's been dazzling audiences in a spectacular career spanning almost 6 decades. On the big screen, she's appeared in many great movies, including Kotter Comes to Harlem, Norman, Is That You?, Death Drug, No Turning Back, Antwone Fisher, Nocturnal Agony, Beyond the Heavens, A Man Called Jon, Clemency, The Mandela Effect, and many more. On television, we all remember her as Verna Jean Williams in Welcome Back, Kotter, Lucille Banks in Carter Country, Althea in The Big Bang Theory, Gloria Tyler in Bob Hearts Abishola, and of course, she played Will Smith's mother Vi in the hugely popular sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel Air. In the world of daytime dramas, our guest has been immortalized as Birdie in The Young and the Restless, Dr. Ella Craft in Days of Our Lives, and her most acclaimed soap opera role, Stella Henry on General Hospital, for which she has won 2 Daytime Emmy Awards. She was also the voice of Dee Dee Skies in the animated series Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, and she was the voice of Danielle Craig on the popular sitcom Baby Talk. She has also guest starred in dozens of classic TV series, including Good Times, The Jeffersons, Hill Street Blues, Murphy Brown, Married with Children, LA Law, ER, The X-Files, The West Wing, CSI, Dexter, 2.5 Men, Young Sheldon, and believe me, I'm only scratching the surface. And she's appeared in a whole slew of wonderful TV movies, including The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, Love's Savage Fury, The Violation of Sarah McDavid, Hell Hath No Fury, Applause for Miss E, Home by Spring, and many, many more. Our guest has also written 2 very informative books entitled Commercials, Just My Speed, and Kids in the TV Commercial Biz, which give practical advice to aspiring actors who'd like to break into the world of television commercials. And when she's not on the set, she's a highly respected acting teacher at a nonprofit performing arts company in Los Angeles that she co-founded called The Heartfelt Education Through the Arts, which provides a healthy, creative environment where aspiring actors, dancers, and singers of all ages, and especially young people, can feel inspired and empowered to cultivate their talents. In fact, in 2023, she was inducted into the prestigious Gold Circle by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for over 50 years of community service. And if all of that weren't enough, our guest is also the subject of an excellent and truly inspirational documentary entitled You Look Familiar, Vernée Watson, in which she reminisces about her iconic career and shares many of the life lessons she's learned along the way. I'm delighted and deeply honored to welcome the incomparable Vernée Watson to our show. Vernée, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm exhausted already from all that work I've done.
When you hear that list of credits, which is only a fraction of your body of work, what goes through your mind?
It's mind-boggling. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to do it in a short period of time. I had 56 years to do it. But I'm very grateful for all that work. I never consider myself a star and just a working actress. And I try to keep that going, that momentum going by respecting everybody on the set and doing my job and keep learning,
In some ways, is that a blessing to not feel like you're a big movie star?
I think so. I think it's not all about me, It's about what I put out there and what I give. So,
well, even if you don't see yourself as a movie star, there's no question that some of the roles you've played on television over the years have made you very, very famous. What was your approach to dealing with fame?
I didn't know why people were looking at me. I'm like, my clothes look right? Or what's going on here? People follow me around the supermarket and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's me. And a couple of people, I'm just looking ordinary. They're like, yeah, I recognize you, even though you do look like a bum. you know, but I have to deal with it. I'm appreciative that people get my work and that it makes them feel good and they enjoy it. That makes me happy. And just to see their smile, a smile on their faces, and we take a selfie. I try to take a selfie with people and be polite and engage, just like one on one. I'm like, I'm not a superhero, I'm just a human being. So, we can chat just like that.
Before we talk about some of the movies and TV shows you've appeared in, I should mention that you've done well over 200 TV commercials and you wrote 2 instructional books about doing commercials. How important would you say that commercials have been in your career, Vernée?
Very, very important. They're like very mini movies, and they're very technical, and they pay very well. So I think that, and they're on, all the time. I did this Walmart commercial that ran like crazy last Christmas, and people can see you and something that you can do, work 1 or 2 days, and you can make money for a while, maybe a couple of years. And it gives you exposure. So it's good. And the kids have to realize that there's a different technique to doing commercials than it is doing sitcoms or theater. And I try to emphasize that you have to act. You have to push all that stuff together, the spontaneity, the creativity, repetitive. You might have 15, 20 takes of the same action. And each time it has to be new and, spontaneous. So they learn that. And that's important.
Now, you've already been asked many times about working on Fresh Prince of Bel Air with Will Smith and the others. I read that the atmosphere on that set was like a constant party, and Will Smith was known for not liking to rehearse. Now, given how seriously you take your work, how do you deal with actors who just don't like to rehearse?
I just make sure I know mine. He always knew his lines, but I like to get the chemistry going. I just make sure I know what I'm doing and go for it. We had a good time. We partied a lot, but when it was time to work, we did work. He used to have us go in his dressing room and dance after we had our makeup on and costume and stuff. We go in there and do the Soul Train line and all that stuff. It would drive the makeup people crazy. That, to answer your question, I just make sure I know what I'm doing. That's all I can say.
You said in the documentary that at one point in the 70s, when you were guest starring in a lot of big sitcoms, that everybody was in their own little star worlds and nobody was communicating with each other. What did you mean by that, Vernée?
There were a couple of shows that I worked on. The atmosphere was a little thick. For African Americans, and getting all that attention in your own dressing room, and you're a star of a show and all that stuff, not just for African American, but it was unusual for us to be in that position. And it kind of gave some of us a big head, kind of demanding, and self-centered, those kind of things, which wasn't good for the whole production. I try to get along with everybody, and treated each job like a job and very polite and everything. But when there's fun going on and, camaraderie and laughter and stuff, it's a different atmosphere than everybody just kind of being to themselves until it's time to work. It was a little strange.
The thing about you that really comes through in the documentary, I have to say, and even now in this conversation, you take your work very seriously. You may not take yourself all that seriously, but you take your work really seriously. And it's impressive to me that you don't impose that expectation on everybody else. You really focus on being the best you can be, and you don't get all fussed about people who may not really be all that professional in your opinion.
Sometimes I'm like, that's what they paying you for, to learn these lines. How can you come on set and not know your lines? I have said that to some people. So, but it is important to me to know what you're doing. That's what you're there for. And you don't have to be thinking about the lines when you're acting if you know your material. And it helps the whole production. The whole production benefits from us giving all that we can to it. And that's only possible if you know what you're doing. And you're aware of the marks you're supposed to hit, what the director tells you to do, that listening to each other and reacting and not just waiting for your line to show up, or somebody to stop talking so you can say your line.
It strikes me that not only is it important to know your lines and be a pro, but also that the atmosphere on the set really matters. And it reminds me of a movie you made in 1981, All Night Long, with Gene Hackman, Barbra Streisand, Diane Ladd. Barbara had nothing good to say about that movie in her recent book. Do you remember what your experience was like on that set?
I was only supposed to work a day or so, and I ended up working maybe 3 weeks.
How does that happen?
I don't know. I guess they put us in more shots. I had a kind of a strange experience with Miss Streisand. I had to meet her walking in the opposite direction, and we had marks on the ground, but she would stop so that my back would be to the camera, and I had to turn around to her. And I was like, did we change our marks here? The director's like, oh, you're not on your mark? No, I'm on my mark. Miss Streisand isn't on hers. So I look out for myself. If I see something, I say something.
Did
And
it
if
work?
Yeah.
Good for you. Not everybody would do that to someone like her.
I acted like she didn't know what she was doing. You know what I mean? Although I knew she knew what she was doing. But that's why I just said, did we change these? And it was like, so she just kind of stood where she was supposed to stand. So
in 2002, you appeared in Antwone Fisher, directed by Denzel, one of the greats, who also starred in the movie. What was he like to work with when you're dealing with a director who's also starring in the film?
And first of all, a handsome man. I was like, Lord have mercy. He I don't know if you know, but one of his daughter was my student, Olivia Washington, who is now like this wonderful actress. It was an honor. I remember being in this little neighborhood in Cleveland, and he was giving us direction, and he says, okay, Vernée, so you go to the door and you open the door, and there's a whole crowd of people, Denzel. He's like, oh my goodness. He had to close the door, but he's an actor, so he gave you directions. You had to know your character when he directed you. He had character questions. He was not just interested in you hitting your mark and coming up with your cue. He was talking about relationship and motivation and things like that, which was amazing. Amazing. And he was all into the audition. He would say, okay, you sit here and you're on the phone, and so turn your back and blah, 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 so it was just really cute, really cute. He's a wonderful man.
He is. You were terrific in that movie. You've appeared, in my opinion, in one of the best movies of the last decade called Clemency, starring the brilliant Alfre Woodard. She plays the warden of a jail where a murderer is about to be executed, and you play the mother of the murder victim. Were you impacted emotionally in that movie?
Yeah. That was a rough one. And to be just sitting in the execution chamber, and the little viewing room, and watching him be injected, and it was a roller coaster. It was rough.
Has it ever occurred to you that your particular style of acting makes the audience members, the viewers, feel like we know you?
Yes, what was I in the hospital yesterday visiting a friend? Oh, you look familiar. Wait a minute. People say that to me all the time. And I don't know if it's my style of acting. I try to be very honest with my acting. And I tell my students, if you're not feeling it, the audience ain't feeling it. If you're just saying some words, that's all they're getting. So I try to be honest and let it come from internally, come from there.
Well, if anybody out there has not seen Clemency, that is a movie I highly recommend. Mm-hmm. When I look at your career your body of work, Vernée. You've worked with so many great legendary stars over the years. Is there anyone you haven't worked with that you would like to? I'd like to see you do a scene with Meryl Streep.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'd like to see you with Nicole Kidman.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. I mean, and these people that you're naming seem to be they're very grounded and hard workers. And I think we would have a great time, after I got over being starstruck.
We recently had Monique on the show. I'd love to see you work with her too.
I think I worked with Monique on something.
No, I'd like to see you do a movie with her.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. That would be fun. That would be cool.
Are you comfortable watching yourself on screen?
Very critical. Sometimes I enjoy my performance, I kind of laugh and then if I'm having trouble when I'm shooting, focusing or something, and I watch it just to see if I hit it, and if I was right, I wasn't focused. But I am constructively critical of myself. Let's say that. And I know how to learn from my mistakes and not be distracted.
I doubt that you make many. And I have to tell you something, Vernée. When I was doing my research in preparation for this interview, I learned that you have an exemplary reputation within the industry for not only being talented, but also for being on time. You know your lines. You're a team player. You have no ego. You're kind to everyone. People like working with you because you're a consummate professional. You have a strong work ethic. Where do you think those qualities came from?
New York, honey. Growing up in New York, nothing is given to you. You have to earn it. You got to earn space on the sidewalk to walk down to the subway. I had a teacher named Al Fan. I was the Al Fan Theatrical Ensemble, and we worked. We worked. I went to school during the day and the class at night. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, you can't just want to be a doctor or have followers on the whatever that thing, the Instagram or something and become a doctor. No, you got to do the work. And people are, come on, y'all. I tell my students, you're at the same place that you were last week. What homework did you do? And that's how you grow. And you don't stop growing, because if you stop growing, then it stops coming out fresh. You know what I'm saying? It's all about you then and not the character. So I'm always trying to grow in my work. And it's a blessing. We have to, God gave us these talents and we're supposed to use them, and nurture them. So it's not about us. It's a gift, and it's your gift to use.
You won an Emmy Award in 1979 for your work with Philip Michael Thomas in a TV movie called Angel Dust, The Whack Attack, which is about a famous singer who gets addicted to crack cocaine. Now, I'm sure that over the years, you must have witnessed drug use among some of the stars you've worked with. Were you ever tempted to get into substance abuse?
Yeah, yeah, I sure was. But thank God I made it through, child. And I've never, talked about this, but yeah, I mean, it was rampant. It was rampant, but I made it through. Praise God. And here I am. Yes. And a lot of people didn't. And I grew up in Harlem where heroin was killing us, and I watched a lot of people go down with that. It was hard.
How do you think you got through it when so many people didn't?
By the grace of God. I am a very spiritual person. I try to, because I know who created me and where my blessings come from and who my refuge and my strength is. And a lot of people don't know that, or they don't want to, acknowledge that. So I turn to a higher power because I'm not the all powerful and I'm not all knowing. And thank God, thank you, Lord, that you know, and you are powerful, and you are mighty. So I can turn to you, and He gives you strength. He gives you strength. You can ask for stuff. Lord, please help me. Please help me. And a lot of people, when they get the blessing, they forget to thank him. They just look for the next one. So you're never satisfied. But when you're thankful, even for the tough times, then your blessings continue.
This is very, very powerful what you're saying. Now, Vernée, I'm sure you are aware that you've always been one of the most beautiful women in show business, and that can sometimes create unwanted attention. Now, in your documentary, you mentioned a horrible incident with Red Fox, and I'm just wondering, over the years, have you had to deal with a lot of bad behavior and sexual harassment from men in the industry?
I have. Not a lot, because I stop it at right there. Being from Harlem, I don't mind slapping somebody. You touch me, you're gonna get hit. And I'm gonna report you. When I was coming up, I was trying to get into modeling and stuff, and you'd go to these little go-sees, they call them, and they get fresh with you and stuff. No, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. And I'm not like I could beat somebody up or something, but when you defend yourself and you don't cower to that, they back off. And
does it affect whether you get the job?
I don't care.
See, that's the difference, I think.
I lost a job, different world, because of my standing up for myself. Because I was touched inappropriately by the executive producer.
And it cost you a job.
Yeah.
But you don't care.
I don't care. It's okay. It's okay. I'll get another one. I'm not going to let you do that for me to work, because then it only gets worse.
That is such an important lesson. When I've heard people say, well, I did it because I needed the work and I didn't want to lose the job. You just gave the answer.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. They got permission. And how you feel about yourself after that. How can you give your best if you're being used?
How can you feel your best if you think that maybe you only got the job because you gave in?
Because of that, yes. The job isn't the source. He's the source. So there's going to be another one.
But the source of your self-esteem is the fact that you care less about getting the job than you do about your own integrity.
Yes.
God bless you. When I was reviewing your list of credits, you've appeared in hundreds of movies and TV shows and well over 200 commercials. And yet you said in the documentary that you've spent your whole career not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from. How do you deal with that uncertainty on an emotional level?
I go through. And, I have grandkids and I'm trying to help with all that stuff. So there are times when I'm worried, a little anxious. When am I going to get that next job? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm serious, Harvey. I just pray. I pray, and I get peace. I get peace. And when you stop, you cannot be anxious and grateful at the same time. And there's so much to be grateful for. And it doesn't have to be monetary. I'm grateful that I can talk. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. Look at all the homeless people. You know what I'm saying? So that gratitude covers the anxiety. And so when the goodness comes to you, you really appreciate it. And it gives you a sense of peace,
Are you finally at that stage of your career and in your life where you can be confident that some job is going to come along, that you're that well known and that respected that it's not going to be too long? Somebody's going to make you.
Somebody's going to call me. Yeah. I mean, I'm 75 years old, so I should be retired by now. But I want to keep working, and I'm so glad I'm teaching. And I have to, these kids drive me crazy, but they're so wonderful to watch these little babies come out of themselves and gain confidence. And
I'm going to ask you about the teaching. I will ask you about the teaching. But first, I've got to mention this incredible documentary. You Look Familiar, Vernée Watson. I saw it on Tubi. I loved it. Can you just tell us how that documentary came about?
Well, Judy Smith and Glenn Turman. Judy Smith came to me, said, Vernée, I want to do a documentary on you. I said, for about what? He said, your career. I said, nobody cares. Nobody's interested. They said, no, Vernée, really, you had so much work, blah, blah, you're a legend, da, 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 da. I said, okay, let's do it. We did it in one day. All my talking was done in one day. It took months and months to get all the footage and all that stuff together and edit it together. And when it finally came together and he told me to watch it, it was during COVID. And I said, well, I'm going to get my makeup on. I put my makeup on like I was going to a screening. And I said, I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm not going to push pause. I'm going to watch it. And if I don't fall asleep, then it's okay. Or if I'm like, oh, will she just shut up? Then I'm good. So I watched it all the way through and I was like, okay, I got my message across. I watched it and I thought that I did a good job and it was helpful.
Well, I want to tell our viewers, you can watch the documentary You Look Familiar, Vernée Watson on many streaming platforms, including Apple TV, Peacock, Amazon Prime, and Tubi. I highly recommend it because it's not just a master class on acting, it's a master class on how to have class in a business that's absolutely brutal. So Vernée, you've been very patient with me. In our remaining moments, I want to ask you about the organization you co-founded, Heartfelt Education Through the Arts. But before I do, we're going to show a fabulous clip that features some of the amazing talent and the work that's going on in that organization. So everybody take a look at this. So Vernée, what inspired you and Eartha Robinson to give back to the community in such a meaningful way?
I've been teaching for almost 40 years. Because I grew up in the theater in New York, I knew how important it was for people to study. And when you come out here, everybody thinks that, oh, get my child an agent. Well, what about them studying a little bit and learning the craft before they go out? Once I started working with children and I was able to create scripts and, direct and, like I said, watch them grow and thrive and helping these people at a young age, I was hooked. And Eartha and I, we did the Chocolate Nutcracker back in the 90s. And that's how I met Eartha. My son and my daughter was a dancer. And then my son, I saw him twirling in the kitchen one day. I was like, you going to dance class next week. And he's thriving. He's been in Europe dancing and all that stuff. He was in Alvin Ailey. And so we started the Robinson Project. She started the Robinson Project back in the 90s. And then she went to New York. And when she came back, we started the Heartfelt Education Through the Arts. And in the 90s, the Robinson Project, we're teaching our children. And now we're teaching our children's children and all the other people's children. So we have generationals. It's generations of people that we're working with. And there's nothing better than that. And when I got my little awards, I let them know, hey, I didn't get this because of how many followers I have. I got this because I did what? The work.
Well, I want to mention to our viewers that you can find out more information about the Heartfelt Education Through the Arts by going to their official website, theheartarts.org, which is now showing on your screen. And please consider making a donation in any amount to this very worthy organization So, Vernée, when you look back at your career and your body of work, are you able to identify one specific role that you've played or project you've been involved in that has given you the most personal satisfaction?
I like character stuff. I played a homeless person on one of these CSI things, I think. I don't know. I mean, I had a great time on Hearts Abishola. That was wonderful. Just Chuck Lorre is a godsend. Working with Denzel was good. Maybe not one thing, but just a lot of things that I just enjoy doing. I don't know. And theater. Oh, I played Nurse Ratched in a play. What was the name of it? Oh, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yes, I enjoyed that. That was awesome. That was awesome. Oh, I have another movie coming out too. The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. You remember that movie back in the 70s?
Yes.
They did a remake of it. And I'm going to be in that.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. I want to tell you something, Vernée. There are two really important qualities that really come through in this conversation, just like they did in the documentary: your gratitude and your humility. And when you combine those qualities with the pride you take in your work, you really exemplify what it means to be centered and grounded and well balanced in this business. I think you're just amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful for that.
It's been an absolute honor and a privilege meeting you and having this opportunity to celebrate your incredible career. Thank you for all the great performances. Thank you for the great life lessons that you project without even trying. And most of all, thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show.
Absolutely, Harvey. It has been my absolute pleasure. And God bless you all out there. Take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and be grateful.
And don't miss those killer tomatoes.
No, don't miss them killer tomatoes. That was I felt like I was doing a cartoon.
Our guest has been the iconic actress, author, and educator, Vernée Watson. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time. Thank you to my producers, Steve Silver, my managers, Rick Marcelli and Robin Bragg Marcelli of the Marcelli Company in Hollywood, my director of programming, Robert Monaghan, my editor, Isaiah Sheralampidis, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.